afternoon and welcome to Vendée Live. We have been on the racecourse for 61 days and our fleet spans from the middle of the Pacific through the full length of the Atlantic Ocean. Here in Les Sables d'Olonne, it has been torrential rain and it's a real challenge for our teams outside trying to organise the arrivals which are scheduled for Tuesday. So the race is on, both on land and at sea. And it's our skipper, Jörn Schmidt, in second place, who reported a problem to race management this morning. His J0 lock had failed, his sail fell in the water. It took him 20 minutes to recover the sail that is now broken and unusable. And on Malizia, Boris Herman has also reported a J2 halyard lock issue with his sail falling down. His mast and his sail and boat are secure, but he's really working on ways to find a solution to rehoist the sail because about 70% of his remaining race will need this J2.
I had a good sleep and woke up because I heard some flapping, and in fact the hook of the J2 broke, so the J2 was slit part way down the forestay, and that ripped also the halyard for that sail. I'm the only boat with a hook mechanism on that sail, and it was really me who wanted that for safety reasons in case the sail broke. So it's really my responsibility to be in this situation, ultimately of course anyway, but I really wanted this hook, and that part broke, and we could have just lashed the sail like everyone else at the top, and then I wouldn't have this problem.
So Boris, they're owning that hook decision, but it really has been a race about hooks, or as we say in English, the locks in the mast. Now, rounding Cape Horn was Eric Bellion for his second time yesterday, Arnaud Boissier for his fifth time, but it was our youngest skipper in the race, Violette d'Orange, that was rounding it for her first time.
Bon, ça y est, alors j'ai pas cette chance de pouvoir voir le petit bout de terre de feu, mais ça y est, je suis passée au niveau du Cap Horn. Je suis trop heureuse parce que ça y est, ça marque le début de l'Atlantique. J'ai l'impression que ça va être une nouvelle course et c'est ouf quoi, j'ai réussi à aller jusqu'au Cap Horn. C'est trop bien en vrai, franchement c'est trop stylé et je pense que je réalise pas encore. J'aurais trop aimé voir la côte, mais bon ça veut dire qu'il faut que je revienne une deuxième fois au moins pour voir cette terre.
A really special achievement for Violette there. Now, joining me on my show today, I have a couple of guests, and first joining me is Dr. Jörn Schmidt from Germany. He is a member of the group of experts for the World Ocean Assessment, working with the United Nations and in the Division of Ocean Affairs and the Law of the Sea. Dr. Schmidt, welcome. Thank you for joining me. That is a very confusing title.
I do agree, and thank you very much for having me at the show. And it is indeed a very confusing title. To decipher that a little bit for you, so the group of experts is a very UN-specific term that is used for people that are invited to particular processes as experts on a given matter. In this case, this group of experts is dealing with the World Ocean Assessment, which is a global assessment of the state of the ocean. And so we have 25 of these experts, 5 experts per UN region, which doesn't make it easier to understand, but you have in total 25 experts. I was nominated by Germany and came into that group, and we are overseeing and leading on the development of the World Ocean Assessment. Maybe that's sufficient. At the moment, I'm also Director for Sustainable Aquatic Food Systems at WorldFish, which is an international organization in Malaysia. So it's more of my day-to-day work, but I'm also serving in that capacity as a member of experts.
Fascinating stuff. And how would you describe our current state of the oceans if you had to kind of explain to our audience what conditions are like today?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I have to say that, of course, and it's impressive because, I mean, the skippers are already at sea for almost 62 days, and so they're directly experiencing the changes in the conditions at sea that we're seeing, and experiencing the high pressure that we see happening through global warming and climate change, and the conditions are changing, and we see that we have a long-term trend of warming and of ocean acidification, but we also see an increase in extreme events, which are of course the ones that are most dreadful and the ones that we see are happening more often. And I think that is one of the main pressures. The second pressure is obviously pollution. Even though a lot of the skippers, I mean, the areas that they are sailing through in the open ocean, you would say they're so far away from land. And we just heard, I mean, I haven't seen even land. So they're so far away from land, but still you see the effect that we as humans are having on the ocean in terms of putting litter into the ocean. And that you can see, microplastic and even in larger litter particles everywhere already. And I think that is one of the key pressures, the second key pressure. And I think the third is what is less seen, I think, on the race are the changes on the coasts, where we have more and more infrastructure being put into place in the coasts.
Well, somebody that knows our oceans very well is our skipper, Nicolas Lunven, on board Holcim PRB. He is currently in 9th position, we can see on the chart here. They've come out of that difficult front. They're in the weak trades, heading towards the equator. And I am happy to say we have Nico joining us. Hey, Nico, how is life on board Holcim?
Yes, hello, how are you?
I'm good, Nico, but how are you?
I am very good. Look at the weather outside. It's sunny, quite warm, windy. I have from 15 to 18 knots towing speed roughly. Flat sea state, and I am sailing tight reaching towards the doldrum. So life is quite nice for me.
It looks beautiful, much nicer than Le Sable d'Olonne today, I can tell you.
Probably, yes.
Now, Nico, you've been working really hard to try and fix your masthead unit. Have you had success yet?
Yes, so the situation at the top of the mast is not very good because there is a carbon piece on top of mast to hold some wind sensor, also the camera on a VHF antenna. And everything is gone, and nothing can be down at the top of the mast. But I had a spare wind sensor at the back of the boat, which was not working properly. But for the last 2 days, I was able to work a bit and to improve it, to put it on the side. So you can see here, just behind the runner, there is one on starboard, and I have another one on port. And now it works quite properly. So very helpful. It works almost like a masthead unit. So it's very good news for me since yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't remember exactly, but now I am fully operational with that. So it's a very good news and very helpful because I spent like 3 days, I think, without proper wind information, and it was a bit a nightmare, especially because the wind was a bit also crazy with lots of squalls and thunderstorms. So it was very, very difficult. But now I am okay. So I am back in 100% race mode.
Oh, congratulations. That is great news, Nico. I'm pleased to hear that. Now, for the whole race, you've been side by side with either Jeremy or Paul Mea. You know, there's always been another boat, and it's like been a Figaro-style race all the way around the world. You love this intensity. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, of course, it's very intense, very interesting, and at least not boring at all to have competitors around me. So I am very happy about that. But I am not very happy that my east option was not very good. I was expecting a much better result, of course, because now I am behind Sam, Jeremy, Paul, and Boris and Thomas. But not so far away. But I was expecting at least to be on the same level as them, or maybe a bit ahead, but not behind. But it's like that. This option finally was not very good because yesterday, not last night, but the night before, I had an horrible night with a very bad wind, because before that I think it was not so bad, but I had some very bad clouds and squalls with no wind at all. I had absolutely no wind for almost a night, so I was totally stuck, and I lost almost everything from that option. But the race is still long, almost 2 weeks, a bit more than 2 weeks to Les Sables d'Olonne, so lots of things going to happen. The doldrums, also to work to make the boat faster in this condition. In the trade winds, South Atlantic trade winds, then there will be the doldrums, of course, with lots of surprise, maybe. And then the part of the race can be a bit, for now, it's a bit too far away, so unpredictable, but lots of things can still happen. So it's good at least to be not too far away behind them, and to can still push them a bit to make mistakes.
I have absolute confidence in you, Nico, absolutely. And the balance in the last few miles now, do you sail your boat differently? Do you push harder? Where is the balance on risk and reward?
So for now, with the condition I have here, with 15, 18 knots throw-in speed, I am sailing at 60 throw-in angle. The boat is, I would say, around 17 knots boat speed, now 19. And the suspect is flat, so yes, I am sailing my boat at 100%. Because to me, there is always a risk, and you can always break something, but there is no reason to slow down the boat for now. We will see. Well, for example, at the end, if there is very bad weather to handle for the last few days before arriving in Les Sables d'Olonne, and maybe at that moment you decide to slow down to preserve your boat and not to break everything. But in condition I have today, to me there is no reason to slow down.
Well, that's great news, Nico, and I really appreciate your time with the show today and talking to us. Sail safe, sail fast, and good luck for the last miles of the race. Thank you, Nico.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Really positive news from Nico there. That's great to see. And if I come back to you, Dr. Schmidt, there are 35 sailors still on this race course, and they get to do a certain level of science while they're out there. How important is citizen science to your environment and your information?
Oh, very important, and increasingly important, I think, because we have now means to actually equip them with the kind of the technology that would enable them to actually collect data that is important for us in science and to understand the dynamics of the ocean. There's two reasons for that. One is that particularly these sailors are in areas or coming into areas where we hardly ever go with research vessels, or where the effort for us in terms of the costs and going there would be very, very, very high. So having them collecting that data is extremely important, and we're really, really happy and looking forward to collect that data. But that is, of course, also true for anyone else who wants to collect that data. So that is one reason. And the second reason is as I mentioned, a lot of times to be able to collect data, from a scientific point of view, if you need to do that from a research vessel, you need to have the vessel, you need to have the equipment, you need to have the people, and it's very costly. And you can only have that boat, in one point at a time. And having all these sailors collecting the data is really, really, really important. And I think that we have seen an increase in the use of citizen science over the last, I would say, 2 decades, and particularly involving these sailors. I think is really, really great. And I know that it's a lot of effort, even though you sometimes think like, oh, they just put on a sensor, and it's still an effort. It's a weight, it's extra instrumentation, extra effort to do that. But it's great that they are willing to do it, and I hope that it's also stimulating others to say, oh yeah, I want to collect data for science. How do I do that? And of course, contacting me might not be the best way of doing it, but we have colleagues, for example, at the GeoBar in Kiel and in other institutions around the world, which are engaging with these sailors, and they're very, very happy to engage more. So
Well, as it's our racetrack and our playground and our office, we are very passionate about the ocean, and so it's our pleasure to help. And it's really great to hear that it's so welcomed and well received. Dr. Schmidt, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining me on the show. It was very kind of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. And again, very impressive to see the skippers at sea, and then all the challenges that they are facing, and helping us, and helping raising awareness. I think that is also something where, I mean, the work that they're doing, and just like being there and showing the ocean and the environment is so extremely important for us as well, and for engaging with the wider public. So thank you very much for having me, and have a great rest of the show, and good luck to all the skippers that are still in the race.
Thank you, Dr. Schmidt. Now, just behind Nico is Clarisse Crémer, currently in 11th place. She's just entering this Cabo Frio stationary cold front, and she's got all that activity that we saw from Nico before, and she's about to endure it. And I spoke to her this morning, finally my chance to speak to Clarisse for the first time this race, and it was lovely to hear her, and I asked her how conditions were on board.
I'm really struggling to find a way out of this front, and a good way, if possible, a way that doesn't kill all my strategy. And the problem is that the weather forecast is very, very far from the reality.
But your strategy to the west has really paid off. You must be super happy.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure it's going to stay like this forever, because they are very soon going to be on the starboard tack in the trade winds, and when I will still be struggling to get out of this front. So I think it will go back to what it was a few days before. I don't think it's going to last.
Do you sail your boat any differently? Is the limit on risk and reward, does it change for you?
I've been always putting the sail that I was supposed to put, and I've never been really trying to slow down or whatever. But yeah, I think I sail the same way. Maybe in the last miles I will dare to take more risks.
So compared to your first Vendée, how does this race compare? It must feel very different.
It is very different. Of course, the boat, the competitors, and I have more competitors around me for the whole race. I've had people around me, and my mindset is very different. It was hard to give goals and to say what is my objective for this Vendée. If people ask me for a ranking, what I wanted, what I had in mind was really intimate about the way I was going to go through the race and the way I was going to push. And that's really why I'm super happy. It's because I really managed to do that, to be way more calm and to enjoy. It feels like I've grown up a lot in between the two races, and that's really what I was looking forward to. So I'm super happy about that.
It was so lovely to speak to Clarisse, who's so happy about her race and very positive indeed. In 11th place, she's got everything to work for to go forwards. Now, my next guest joining me today is Enora Prado from IFREMER. And IFREMER is the French research institute entirely dedicated to the ocean. They're race partners of the Vendée Globe. Enora, thank you for joining us. I understand your focus is on microplastics. Tell me about that.
Yes, in our lab, we work on the microplastic quantification and identification to evaluate the pollution of microplastic in the oceans, because it's the aim of our institutes. And we focus this on our lab to develop methodology and to really know which is the level of this pollution around the world, and notably in the oceans.
And you've been working with Fabrice Amadeo, one of our skippers. You worked with him in 2020. You're now doing the same process again alongside the University of Bordeaux. What's happening to this data that you're collecting?
Yeah, we collaborate with Fabrice since the last Vendée Globe race, and during the first round, so in 2020, unfortunately he don't finish the race because he had some problems. But during this race, we can analyze all Atlantic oceans. So we obtain data from microplastic pollution just in Atlantic, and through this data, we can show that the pollution more increase a lot when the size of particle decrease. And another information, clearly, it's microplastic are present everywhere, really everywhere. And for the current race, normally we hope to obtain data from the whole ocean, South Ocean, around Antarctic. So for us, it's very exciting and new information about this pollution in the faraway ocean.
And this information is coming every 4 years. Do you need it to come more frequently? Do you want the boats to use this information or get this information for you on other races?
We hope to be able. The hardest point for us it's first to develop the methodology with Fabrice to do the sampling, and after in our lab we pass more of 3 years just to develop the analytical methodology to be able to analyze samples. So now we will try to validate our methodology, and we hope to be able to do more and more analysis because it takes a lot of time to do this. So the first step is really to automate more our capacity to do the analysis.
Well, I wish you all the best, and I thank you for your time today, and thank you for joining me on the show, Enora. Good luck with your microplastics.
Thank you. Bye, Mel.
So just before we take a look at the weather, let's look at the weather from the Pacific Ocean, from the view of Jin Kun-ju, our Chinese skipper.
好冷啊！这2天是我整个往来环球航程当中最冷的几天了，太冷，又冷又冷。现在有个2、3度的气温，啊，太冷了，实在是。外面现在正在刮40、50级的大风，啊，太痛苦了，真是。真想快熬过去这段时间。
So let's just take a look at the weather as we can, where Jin Kun-ju was talking about. He's just coming out of the worst of this weather, but that southerly wind is super cold. And these boats, as they approach Cape Horn, will have another depression before they finish there. Then as we get to the boats that have just rounded Cape Horn, they're looking like they're going to go to the west of the Falklands. This is the group that are trapped between the high pressure zone that's coming and the ice exclusion gate. So they're trying to go as fast as possible. And this little group here with Benjamin Ferry and Giancarlo Padotti are very likely to catch Alan Rora and Roman Atanasio because they're still stuck battling this high pressure system. And then if we look at these people off Cabo Frio, we've got Sam and Clarisse just tackling a low pressure system, and then they're moving into that thundery active cells that we've seen of the other boats. And we see Benjamin Detroit's just outside of that cloud, but he's a long way east and he's struggling in the wind angle to make gains to the north. And we have this compact group, Jeremy Bayou coming out leading that group in 4th place, but they're very tightly clustered, as Nico was saying. He's got everything to go for. And then if we look at the front of the fleet, we've got the animation now, and believe it or not, that animation goes all the way to the finish line in Les Sables d'Olonne. They're through the ridge, and we've got this low pressure front coming towards them that's increasing their time, increasing their speed. And if we see there's a small bubble of high pressure off Spain they have to avoid, and there's a growing bubble of a high pressure system off the finish line. So the race is still on. Now, 3rd place Seb Simon is enjoying being outside the ridge and is in that increasing pressure, and he's on starboard jibe, which is his good foil, and he's really happy, as you can see here.
Eh ben, nuageuse cette dorsale. Voilà. Tout va bien à bord de groupe du Breuil. Super nuit. On vient de traverser l'axe de la dorsale. Route vers les Sables d'Olonne maintenant. Tout en tribord. Wouh!
So just taking a look at the rankings here, we've got our leader, Charlie Dallin, dominating. Obviously, that slight delay from Jörn Schmidt, but there is a chance, there's always a chance, it's the Vendée Globe. 3rd place, Seb Simon, as we just saw there, and then this very tightly clustered group from Sam Goodchild through to Nicolas Lunven. But we also have Justine and Clarisse, Benjamin and Samantha really close together, and they've made huge gains on that group. So this really is a big race coming towards the finish line that's just the other side of the equator. Moving through the rankings, Alan Rora's made really good grounds on that fleet he's with, but that whole group, from Jean Le Cam down through to Benjamin Ferry, are really tackling a high-pressure system that's going to slow them down. And Tanguy Le Turquet through Conrad Coleman, Kajiro Shiriashi, they're the ones that are now trying to go really fast to get through the ice exclusion zone restrictions so they get a bit more space before the high pressure swallows them up and stops them. Our 3 Cape Horners from yesterday are travelling to the west of the Falklands, and then our 3 approaching Cape Horn, and we have Manuel Cousin, Fabrice Amadeo and Denny van Weinberg in the Pacific approaching Point Nemo and going well. Now, this morning, I spoke to Seb Marsset, who survived the storm of yesterday that we talked about and is now pushing hard to go north to not get swallowed up by a high pressure. But I asked him how bad those conditions were.
I think the low pressure system decreased a little bit by the time, so it's been better than it was predicted like 4 days ago.
And congratulations on your solo Cape Horn rounding. Did that feel more special than the others?
A lot more special. It's been really nice because I really sailed close to Cape Horn. I had time to talk with the lighthouse keeper. He called us one by one just to say welcome to Chile. So that was nice.
And the weather ahead in the South Atlantic, what does it look like for you now?
For me, right now, it's a race against the high pressure system, which is moving with the low pressure system I crossed last night. We are stuck in between the high pressure system and the ice limit. I really don't know how this is going to work out. You must be pleased now to be sailing into warmer conditions. It's a bit warmer, but it's not. I'm really right now. It's 13 degrees Celsius. Yes, it's a lot warmer. But I'm fighting with the wet. Everything is wet on board. Yesterday I bailed out 50 liters of water from the boat, and I think I still have the same to do today. So everything is wet. My mattress, my sleeping bag, all my gears. Do you feel that you're eating and sleeping enough? I start feeling the length of the race. It's been difficult to eat for the last days, maybe the 36 hours before Cape Horn. So I had to catch up on the food. I had more sleep during the rough conditions than during the light conditions. So hopefully there we see Seb Marsset being able to eat more food, get some sleep, and enjoy drying stuff out in the warmer weather. He doesn't want it too warm because he wants the wind to keep going, but really good to see him so positive back in the Atlantic. So that concludes my final show. It's actually quite emotional. But thank you for joining me. I've enjoyed sharing all the action of the Vendée Globe with you, and I have a big thank you to say to a very big team behind the scenes. Merci à tous. I guess I'm going home, 'cause all my cash is gone. I spent it all trying to feel alive. Go big or go. Before I go, tomorrow the boss is back. Andy is back. He will look after you for Vendée Live and do all the exciting arrivals. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with 4th placed British skipper Sam Goodchild on his 2nd generation IMOCA sailing in the sunset. Thank you, everybody.